Good morning, Muscatine, and happy Friday. My name is Autumn Schultz. I am your host today. And as always, I would like to say thank you to our sponsors, Hy-Vee, Unity Point Health, and Trinity Muscatine, Muscatine Power and Water, Becky Insurance, Toyota of Muscatine, Rivo Plumbing and Heating, Impact Fitness and Nutrition, Lutheran Living Senior Campus, Impact Life Blood Center, Harper Cycling and Fitness, Muscatine County Fair, and Bayer of Muscatine. A couple of events that are coming up. Tonight is the 12th annual Muscatine Community Block Party. This is from 5:30 to 7:30 and is going to be at the Discovery Park. Over 40 community organizations will be giving out resources and activities to share with everyone. This is a free event, so bring your friends and family, bring the kids especially. There will be additional parking available over at Crossroads, and then the Musca Bus will shuttle you, so you don't have to worry about walking, but this is a free event, so please come out. It's the 12th annual Community Block Party. And then also another event that will be taking place on September 15th from 4 to 7 at Franklin Elementary. This is a benefit for the Calderon family. Julie was a loving, devoted teacher in the Muscatine community for 28 years, and she will be missed by so many. This was an event that was already being planned, and now it's going to be even more of a special event. So please attend. It's $5 a meal. There's bake sales, silent auctions, carnival games, a bounce house, and even a dunk tank. So a lot of fun activities to come out for this event at Franklin Elementary, September 15th from 4 to 7. As you can tell, there's no one shopping behind me. We are completely a little far away from Hy-Vee, but it is totally a fun event that we just got to do and celebrate. We are here with MPW, Gage and Ryan. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Autumn.
So introduce yourselves. We know you quite well, but again, just tell us what you do.
All right. I think this is my 7th time being on the show. I'm Ryan Streck, Director of Utility Service Delivery, and couldn't be happier to be here at this location today.
I think you have me more than doubled. I think this is maybe 3 for me. I'm Gage Huston, General Manager of MPW.
So can you tell us where we are right now?
We are at our west substation, and if the trees and the tent weren't here, right behind me you'd see the theater, right by the off Mulberry by Casey's.
Yeah.
And it's nice and quiet too.
It is. We ended
day.
up having absolutely beautiful weather for our event today, which is fantastic.
And speaking of the event, can you tell us what we did this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. So this morning we commemorated our new transmission line that went into service, line 106. It's a 161,000 volt transmission line. And we haven't done a project like this in about 40 years. So this was a major milestone for MPW and the community. And so we wanted to bring some folks out, do a little ribbon cutting, have a little fun, and celebrate this milestone.
And so with this milestone, you also worked with Central Iowa Power Cooperative and Mid-American Energy on this project. So how does the Line 106 do more than for Muscatine, and also does it serve more than just Muscatine?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. The grid itself is really interconnected. So every utility has interconnections with each other to help each other's systems stay reliable. And so when we looked at doing the need for this project, it was a natural fit for us to partner with SIPCO. And so by doing the project jointly, we were able to split the cost, which is great for our customers, great for their customers, but yet we both reap the benefits of improved reliability on the system. And so it really improves the reliability and flexibility throughout the region, not just for Muscatine.
And also, where is SIPCO location?
SIPCO, I believe, is headquartered in Cedar Rapids, but they provide generation and transmission services to a lot of co-ops. So like Eastern Iowa Light and Power, they sell generation and transmission services to them. So they serve a pretty wide swath of Iowa as well.
Okay, there we go. I like that. Can you explain to me a couple of these things that are on the table?
Oh, I'd love to.
I will let you take the wheel.
So, as Gage knows, I love to show and tell.
Yep.
I love to have things I can bring with me to board meetings or share with customers, but everything here is big. I mean, the substation, the poles themselves, we've got some 115-foot poles out there. So what I was able to bring was one of the nuts that actually holds the pole down to these giant concrete foundations. I like to think of these poles like icebergs because the bulk of it's underneath. Some of these poles have 100 yards of concrete. No, is it 10 yards?
10 yards probably.
10-yard trucks.
10-yard
So
truck.
it is
100
100
yards.
yards. Yeah, it took me a minute. There's a lot of numbers floating around on these lines, but yeah, there's mammoth foundations that hold these poles up, and that's why there's no guy wires on these steel poles, which is one of the reasons we chose steel poles, because there's no guy wires to farm around. Again, we don't want to impede the operations of the farmers who were nice enough to let us build this line through their fields. But the average foundation is 22 to 24 of these giant ones.
Okay.
And so this was something I was able to bring and hold. And the other thing I brought was a sample of the conductor itself. And this is what they call twisted pair. So they're twisted together. It keeps the lines from galloping because it disturbs the airflow as it goes across, so you don't get galloping like you do on some of the lines. But what's neat about this is this line is rated at 272 MVA, which not sure everybody knows what that number is. But basically, if we lost our other transmission lines, we could pick up all the Muscatine's electrical needs with this single line coming out of Davenport.
Wow.
Very impressive. So when we talk about reliability, that's what we're talking about. One of the main topics, or main terms that we've been using is geographic diversity. Our lines mostly come from the south end of our system, and they're close together at points, so if a tornado would go through and take both those out, we'd be heavily dependent on our own generation and our smaller SIPCO tie lines. But now we've got this line to the north, truly geographically diverse, that will be able to maintain power to our city.
Wow. And these are not light either.
No.
They're quite heavy. Even when I picked just that single bolt up, I'm thinking, okay, if I had 25 of those in my hand, I'm going to drop all of them. They're not light, so they're nice and secure. So can you talk about how does the Line 106 support MPW's expansion into renewables for us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to take that one. So this transmission line really is a major milestone in our broader Power in the Future initiative. And so Power in the Future, our plans are to reduce our environmental impact while maintaining reliability and affordability with the low rates for our customers. And so as the electric industry continues its expansion of renewable energy, and we do locally as well with our new solar project that we have planned in the coming years, we need more transmission system infrastructure to help allow that to happen, because renewable projects are intermittent. You know, they produce when the sun's shining and the wind's blowing, so you need a more flexible and redundant transmission system to help flow that energy where it needs to be. And so this is a big piece of that going forward.
And with this Line 106, how long does this whole production take from beginning to end, and what is the process that you had to go through?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I can start off. It goes back to a different job. It goes back to a different general manager. I like to think a lot of this started in 2016. We planned a transmission study. About every 3 years, we take a good look at our system, long-term projections on load, and what the needs are. And if we were going to, change our generation portfolio, at that time we identified the need for the new transmission line. So then you do about a year of planning, starting to put budgets together, then you move into actual engineering of the line, budgeting of the line, and then you get to that point where you have to have a public informational meeting and start to work with the people who own the land to see where you can build the path. And that was all going along pretty well, and then COVID hit. So even when we agreed on the route, everybody's ready to sign easements, nobody wanted to sign easements. They didn't want us coming to their house. We actually did a few of these through a kitchen window. We were able to talk back and forth, pass the paper, and we got these things signed, but the landowners were great to work with, and even though the whole process took longer, we weren't really under any pressure to have it done by a certain date. And I'm really happy we were able to bring it in this month.
Yeah, and I think it really highlights that as we go through this transition in the industry to more renewables, and we need to add transmission infrastructure to do that, it takes time. As Ryan mentioned, we're about 6 years roughly to do this one transmission line project, because the construction itself is one thing. You have long lead item parts, things that can take 6 months to a year to get produced and delivered, and then you have to go through regulatory process, approvals through the Iowa Utilities Board, and then working with landowners. And I think Ryan will probably talk more about that relationship. But not everybody necessarily wants to have some of this infrastructure in place, but they recognize it is important, and it's an important part of continuing to serve customers with reliable electricity. But it takes a lot of negotiation to get that worked out. So that's why these things take so long. But very important projects to get done.
And how did, just working with the landlords, how did that project work out? Obviously COVID, you were just talking about even getting the papers through a kitchen window. How, once COVID kind of settled, how did the transition go for that?
After we got COVID kind of under control, everybody got comfortable with the health measures, the masking and stuff. Things went pretty smooth. But when we were designing the line itself, what made sense to us, the shortest, easiest route and the most diverse route, didn't necessarily strike everyone's fancy. You know?
Okay.
Again, while I think these structures are beautiful, not everybody wants one in their front yard.
Yeah.
And if you look at the map behind me, I'm not sure how well that's going to show up, but the green dotted line kind of shows a really stair-step path. And what that is it's not the most efficient route, but it's the route, again, I like to say everyone could live with.
Yep.
It made sense for them. And we had to make a lot of accommodations, but in the end it worked out. One thing I love to talk about is the poles themselves. Instead of wood poles, we went with these steel monopole structures that don't require guy wires, so there's nothing to work around. And because they're steel, they're going to last for 80 to 100 years. These go through farmland, so we're able to just do a maintenance check on those, and we can use a drone flyover to do that. We don't have to go in, do crop damage. So a lot of this was really set up working with the landowners and getting better ideas. One thing that was really neat was these poles are on private property, and that's why we needed those easements, because if they ever want to expand the road, you don't want to build a $15 million line again.
Yeah.
You know, you want those on private property. So on the end rows, they have to farm around these poles. Well, a typical pole spans only about 300 feet, but what we did was we buried all of the eastern Iowa infrastructure underground, and that allowed us to spread these poles out to about 800-900 feet for the spans. So if you're looking along the side of an 80-acre field, they only have to go around 3 poles. And that was a huge win for them. And also, I think in the end, aesthetically, it's a much more attractive route.
And it's just funny kind of looking at them, and then you see the wood poles right in front of them. They're double the size, and there's so much more durability. They're stable. They're not going anywhere, especially if any strong winds. I don't think those are getting knocked over.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the things that Ryan mentioned with the monopole structure, and it goes back to these foundations. To be able to handle the forces that the transmission line puts on those poles and be able to handle the wind events, you have to have such deep foundations into the ground to be able to support that. And it costs quite a bit more to do poles like that. Most of these poles were custom designed and custom ordered to fit the specific location, but the benefit is to the landowners, because not having those guy wires going out into their field and into their property, it's really very seamless for them now that the poles are up to work around. And so that was an excellent trade-off.
And how long did the construction of these poles take? Was there any hiccups? Probably no hiccups, nice and smooth.
We were just talking about how lucky we got up with the timeline here. We were able to, because there are long lead times associated with this, so we had everything ordered long before COVID, supply chain issues. I don't think we had any timeline issues due to supply chain. I mean, everything was already ordered. It was coming. I'd say the poles were maybe 6 to 7 months.
Okay.
The longest lead time item I can think of is the large transformer. There's a transformer up at the Muscatine North sub, which is just on Highway 38, and that transformer is massive. I don't have all the specs in front of me, but the lead time on that's about a year, and right now I think it would probably be 2 years to get that same transformer, so having that is great.
I love these little fact sheets. I've been reading them, and I just see all the numbers.
Only we had a large paperweight. Okay.
Yeah.
That worked perfectly.
Yeah, so in terms of some specs, so our portion of the line is about 6 miles, roughly. SIPCO's portion, where they took it from the substation on Highway 38 to Davenport, was about 14 miles or so. So about 20 miles of new transmission line. With that, also upgraded some substations, both here and on the substation on Highway 38. And our portion of the project is about $17 million.
Okay.
But if we had done this project on our own, it would have been roughly double that. So again, for us to be able to get the reliability benefits for half the cost is a really good win. But even at $17 million, that's one of the biggest capital projects MPW has done in many, many years. So again, why it's such a milestone for us.
And with the substation Muscatine North, was that a new one, or has that one been kind of touched up? What is the difference between that substation and this one?
Yeah, great question. So there was a smaller substation there before that had some lower voltage equipment, and it was owned by SIPCO.
Okay.
And Eastern Iowa Light and Power had some infrastructure in there. So as part of this, we expanded that substation quite a bit. SIPCO rebuilt all of their 69,000 volt infrastructure. We added all of the new 161,000 volt infrastructure. So it grew pretty significantly in size and the amount of equipment that's there. But it's really nice to have all that new infrastructure in place that will serve. One of the great things about transmission assets is they serve reliably for decades, and so this project will serve our customers for a long, long time.
And now that this project, and you were talking about this, you said September 19th, you've also had this with you in your office.
Yeah.
And now here we are, almost 10 days short of a 3-year anniversary. Like, just how's that overall feel that this is now, the switch has been flipped?
You know, on one hand, it feels like time is flying by. I can't believe it's been 3 years. I mean, it's crazy to think of that. But at the same time, it feels like this is all I've been working on. I mean, I've been working on a lot, but this has been on my to-do list, the top 5, for like 3 years now. And the map in my office actually has the name of all the landowners. And so we can always go to that map when we're talking about easements or talking about, a driveway change or a culvert upgrade. We did a lot of upgrades to the roads along the way too. And it's just always been a great reference to see that there. And I think even though we're done, that map's going to stay on the wall for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and I hope it feels good for Ryan because he's been such an integral part of this project. When Ryan took over as project sponsor when he moved into this role as director, he's really owned it throughout this entire process. And we got into, some rocky times with the initial route, as Ryan mentioned, and working with landowners. And it's one of the things that Ryan does so well is build relationships. And we needed to build some strong relationships with those stakeholders. And Ryan's done a fantastic job with that. And so to see this to fruition, I certainly hope you're proud to see this day come.
Yeah, thank you. I really am. And I will mention real quick on kind of a sad note, this has been a long time to get this done, and some of the landowners that I've met have since passed away. We've actually lost 4 landowners since we started this, but it was great that I got to meet them, get to know them, be in their homes, sign the easements, and they're great people.
I would say, I think having an amazing community like Muscatine, being able to all work together for something that is going to be efficient and beneficial for everyone is just great partnership. And you're so nice. You're such a nice guy.
Thank you.
Everyone loves you.
And Ryan and I were talking about that earlier too, the great turnout that we had for the ribbon cutting event. And, I'm sure folks will see pictures of that here coming out later today. The support that we've had from a diverse group of stakeholders in the community that came out to this kind of unique location in the middle of nowhere to help us celebrate. I think it shows that how this community works together and supports each other and is able to come out and help us celebrate was really cool.
Yeah, it was a really nice and beautiful weather too.
Yeah,
perfect weather.
Yeah, couldn't be better.
And another thing I wanted to mention, Ryan talked about, this project really started under another general manager. So Sal LoBianco, who is able to join us today, was the GM at the time when we approved this project, essentially, and decided to move forward. And I think his foresight and his vision of knowing how important this project was going to be to Muscatine in the years to come, the courage to approve and recommend a $17 million project, it really was, he was right on track. It was absolutely the right thing to do, and so definitely big thanks to Sal for having that vision many, many years ago.
And now that this project is completed, what's the next project on the books?
We're just going to take it easy for a while, I think.
Take the weekend off?
I'll let Gage talk to this one because we've got a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah, many projects going on throughout the entire utility, electric, water, and communications. On the electric side, one of the bigger things we have is that solar project we mentioned earlier. Another big piece of the Powering the Future puzzle, where we've been in negotiations with the developer for several months now. Unfortunately, the solar industry is going through a rocky time with supply chain issues, cost increases. There's some tariff bypassing issues out of China, and so the prices have gone up about 30% or more from when we first did an RFP for that project. So we're working through that, and I'm hopeful within the next couple of months actually we'll be able to get that contract executed. And then similar to this, there's still a couple of years left before that project will be in service. We've got to go through a study process with the grid operator. So interconnecting a new generation project, they have to study that and understand how it's going to impact the system. That takes about 2 years to get through. Again, some supply chain, long lead item parts. So hopefully into 24, maybe into 25, we'll have that new solar project in service, and that'll be another major milestone for us we're excited about.
Do you have a banner for that yet?
No.
Well, there you go.
Well,
We
to
do
work
have
on that.
another mock-up. Our marketing team is amazing. They do such great
Yes.
work, and so we've been talking about that solar project for a couple of years now as well, and so we have some good mock-ups of that we'd be happy to share.
Yeah, so that's what you need to do. Every time that you have a big project, just make a banner and just start collecting banners as your goals.
I love it.
Yeah.
And along with the substation, of course, or along with the solar comes another substation upgrade. So we'll be working on our Grandview substation engineering and design pretty soon as well.
And how many substations are there in Muscatine area?
We have 3 161 kV subs. Well, actually 4 with Muscatine North
Right.
now technically, and then I think is it 669 kV substations throughout the community. So one of the great things about the way our system is designed is not only do we have a lot of flexibility to flow energy into and out of our system. So when we have excess generation in Muscatine, we can sell that out into the market. When we need energy from the system, we can bring it in very easily. But then at a step down to lower voltage, we have essentially a ring of substations at the 69 kV level that allows us to serve the community in many different configurations, whether we have unplanned outages or we have scheduled work on a substation or on a line. We can basically reconfigure the system so that all of our customers can remain in service while we address that outage or do that scheduled work. Very robust system, and again, it's the benefit of foresight of people that have come before us in the design and investments that they've made, but Muscatine's really lucky to have a system like we do.
On those, I get a questioning look on my face when I'm asked the number of substations because there's 161, 69, 13.8. Some of those are together, some of those are spread out over a big enough field. You're not sure if it's 1 or 3, so it's hard to really put a number on it, but I will get to work on that.
It wasn't the spider, by the way. No, he was not your spider, but
Oh,
you
yeah.
had a good ant on you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Get in that.
Yeah, we had a little daddy long legs earlier, so just hanging out with you. Well, I think this is a lot of great information. I think this was an incredible event, a lot of people, beautiful weather, and we're not in the middle of a grocery store today, but it's perfect, great celebration. Is this going back up in your office then?
Yes.
Perfect?
Yes.
You're going to have it signed.
It'd be like collecting sports memorabilia, right?
Pretty much,
Put it
yeah.
on-
We'll get a giant laminating machine somehow. But kudos to your crew. I've been involved with shows where at the last minute everything went remote because of a COVID exposure. Now you're out here in the middle of nowhere. I mean, what a great crew to be able to produce these things just anywhere you need to.
I say Jess,
absolutely.
Chris, and Chris, they're
Yep.
awesome.
They're incredible.
They just have me as a face, so it works out. As Chris smiles.
That's supposed to be my line, Autumn. I say about an event like this is we have such an amazing staff that helps not just do this project, but even to put this event together. Holly Jergerson, who is on our team, did a huge part in planning this event. All the details that go into putting a successful event like this together, and I get to show up and just read a few talking points that Holly basically wrote for me anyway. So I get the easy part, but it's fun to come out and celebrate the success of the hard work of all of our staff.
I was praising Holly. I always appreciate her because she will send me everything and I can read it and know right ahead. I love when she does that because then I'm not having to try and Google search everything. Yeah. So
I know that feeling. It's great.
She's incredible. I love having you guys on the show every month. You always bring amazing people on.
Thank you.
And hey, you weren't the cheerleader today.
Yep. I'll
were
go
not.
back to my role next week. I'm happy to be there.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats on getting the ribbon cut.
Yeah.
It took a
Don't worry,
third
this
time is
time's
the
the charm.
charm.
Third time the charm. It's those scissors, don't worry. But congratulations.
And
Oh, you got to.
I'll be. Brad was nice enough to give this to me, Mayor Bark, and
Oh,
I will
yes.
be keeping this. So
You'll have to
you
put it
can
with the
easily-
Yeah,
banner.
put that with the banner.
yeah,
We'll get your
I
whole
could
office
wear
walls
this like
covered.
a sash. Maybe.
Maybe just turn it up so Muscatine's facing upright.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. That's perfect. Well, congratulations again, and I can't wait to see more updates about the solar project too.
Thank you,
So that'll be
Autumn.
really fun.
Thanks for
Keep
having
it up
us.
in the next couple of years. Thank you. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Be sure to head out to Discover Park and do the community block party. That's from 5:30 to 7:30. And then you can go over to Crossroads and Muscabus will shuttle you out if you need additional parking so you don't have to walk. But come out, it's going to be beautiful weather. Until then, stay happy and stay healthy. I will see you later, Muscatine.
Here at Toyota Muscatine, we're here to serve.
When you buy a vehicle at a multi-brand dealership and it isn't locally owned, it can be difficult to get information that you need.
That's why all of our trained salespeople are focused on one thing, getting you the best deal possible on a new or used Toyota.
And when you pick your favorite, we will help you with financing and maintenance.
We love helping our neighbors.
Come to Toyota Muscatine today.